The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your super chats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
Tom Brady and the Jets. Tom Brady said nice things about the Jets. What? We'll talk about that and much more. It's the Jake Asman Show. Let's hit it and get it started. Man, our Jets are primed for a historic season.
The Jets win the Super Bowl. We on top of the damn universe. Our championship will mean more than any of them cheating Belichick ass Patriots.
You ain't lying there.
We got the best defense in the league. We got the best quarterback in the league. I don't give a damn what nobody say. Don't nobody want to see the Jets. Jets.
The king has spoken. The king has spoken.
We bleed Jets green each and every day. This is not the same old Jets. We have Aaron freaking Rodgers. We have Garrett Wilson. Let's go. We have Brees Hall. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super chat, baby. Cut the line. We have Sauce Gardner. We have Quinnen Williams. The Jets bandwagon is loaded. Now it's time to talk all things New York Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show. Here we go, Jet fans. Welcome in, everybody. Show number 2 on the day. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for your home for daily New York Jets talk. We are also your home for the best watch party for any Jet fan on the planet. T-Squared Social, Midtown Manhattan. We announced it officially yesterday. Week 1 and week 2, we will be hosting a watch party at T-Squared Social. For week 1, RSVP with the link I have in the description. It is a free event. Party starts at 7. Jets and the Niners 2 weeks from tonight, 8:15 Eastern time is the kickoff. Before we bring on our big-time guest set to join us, a huge shout out to William Sprague, who made it rain with 10 channel memberships before the show even started. Now, why is this significant? Because William even super chat. He goes, unfortunately, I'm going to miss the show tonight, but I love all you guys and gals. Go Jets. So, we got to hit it, baby. Here we go.
I am the master of the Sprague spree. Take this, Jake, you little bitch.
Here we go, baby. 10 memberships right off the bat. You got to be freaking kidding me. John, you're a member. Taylor, you're a member. Steven, you're a member. JY, member. Balloon Bach, member. Liam DeFranzo, member. Joni Rozier, member. Brandon Rivera, member. Football 12, you guessed it, member. Fabian Besora, member. Congrats. But wait, that's not all. On the first show today, a listener named John bought 5 memberships. Here's the problem. The show was over already. John was watching on delay. He didn't realize the show was over. So, John, don't think I forgot about you because you purchased 5 memberships.
Oh, nice.
So let's shout out who got them. SOTM Network, Lorenzo Ramos, Anthony, Carl Bananas, and Steve Badamo. You guys are all members, courtesy of John, who was nice enough to gift these memberships, even though the show was already over. All right, now we bring on our big name guest. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to welcome back to the show Jet Nation radio host Glenn Naughton, who joins us live from the UK. What's up, Glenn?
Listen, Jake, thanks for having me on. Always a good time. And what's up is, having a hard time believing how close we are to this season finally kicking off.
The last time I had you on the show, the Jets had not even embarked on so many of the moves they made this offseason. Glenn, you've been a diehard fan of this team for a very, very long time. When you look at just the roster, how do you feel about this roster compared to other Jet teams you've seen in your lifetime?
Well, from a pure talent standpoint, we've beaten the injury thing to death. If this guy stays healthy, if that guy, all that aside, from a pure talent standpoint, I've never seen a better Jets team. When I hear people say of course, 29 and 2010 or 2009 and 10 were great, but Mark Sanchez versus Aaron Rodgers, like that alone that alone kind of sort of lifts this group above that. But there are so many, you look at the NFL top 100, the Jets have 5 guys on there, 6 guys on there. I don't think Tyron Smith wasn't even on because of the injury history, but we know he's a top 100 guy. There are more blue chip players on this roster than they've probably had in the last 15, 20 years combined. So you look at the fact that Tyron Smith, you've got an elite left tackle. You've got an elite receiver in Garrett Wilson. You've got an elite running back in Breece Hall. And these are words that people throw around willy-nilly nowadays, but these are legit elite guys. Haason Reddick, we'll get into that. He's another one. But, of course, Aaron Rodgers, from a just purely talent standpoint, 1 through 53, which we'll know what that is later today and tomorrow, I've not seen a better Jets team assembled.
I mean, I'm right there with you. And it's crazy to say because we know how long the playoff drought has been and the classic, the Jets are going to jet and all that, and they have to overcome all that. But from just a pure talent standpoint, to me, it's their most talented team since at least 2010. And you could argue when you factor in the quarterback being Aaron Rodgers and not second-year, career journeyman, it turned out to be Mark Sanchez, you could make a case this is their best team they're going to put on the field since the last time they won 12 games in a regular season, which was the 98 Jets.
Yeah, again, the thing is the last year was such a disaster because of obviously the early injury and all of the injuries that followed. But that team, I mean, how many teams in the NFL could win 7 games with arguably the worst quarterback play in the league? But because of all the other talent on this roster, they were able to do that. And now you add to that, you improve the depth, and you get Rodgers back. I try not to get too bullish because we've been burned so many times. But that doesn't mean I'm going to lie. Like, looking at this roster, top to bottom, whether it's offense, defense, now listen, they have questions. Every team has questions. There's not a team in the NFL that goes into camp or goes into week 1 saying we have nothing to worry about. Everyone's got a little something. Yeah, I'm a little worried about the defensive interior. Chuck Clark hasn't been in the system. We got to see how there's some questions. Everyone's got those. But for the things that we know, for guys, the level they play at when they're healthy, you can't name 2 or 3 teams with more talent than this Jets team.
If you have any questions for Glenn throughout the course of our conversation, super chat it in. It will cut the line. Appreciate all the Asmaniacs tuned in. Hit that like button and help support the show by subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. So, perfect segue, Glenn. You mentioned it. Aaron Rodgers is back. Tom Brady was a guest. Yes, arch nemesis Tom Brady, that guy. Tom Brady was a guest on the Roommates podcast, and I'm a big Knicks fan, so I'm a huge Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart fan. So Brady was their guest at Fanatics Fest last week, and this was Tom Brady being asked about Aaron Rodgers and the Jets.
I'm really excited for what he's about to undertake here shortly going into the season, and I think you have those injuries. They put a lot of things in perspective for you when you have them, and then I want to see the fire that he's got when he goes out there on the field and how he chooses to lead the team this year. So it's going to be an exciting year for the Jet fans.
It's going to be an exciting year for the Jet fans. Brady talking about how when you get hurt, it makes you realize how much you miss and love the game. And Aaron's made some similar comments already this summer when asked about the injury. What do you make of those comments from Tom Brady there on the Jets, Glenn?
Well, he's an analyst now, so it's his job to tell it like it is and be honest. He doesn't have any reason to have it out for the Jets with him being no longer on the field. And I think he nails it. I think one thing that, you talk about Aaron Rodgers, the injury, wanting to come back from that and prove people wrong. Funny enough, this could be a thing where Jets fans kind of benefit from all the vitriol and the hatred toward Rodgers in recent years over political and COVID stuff that, everyone's sort of out to get him, if you will, with a lot of these hit pieces. Like that, too, has been sort of feeding the, fuel to the fire, if you will, for Aaron Rodgers to really, guys that compete at that level want to prove doubters wrong as it is. But he's been so, he's been such a big target on and off the field that to me, it probably just makes that fire burn that much more. That this isn't just about football. I want to hoist a Lombardi, and I want everyone who talked trash about me to have to watch me do it and not be able to stop me. So I think that feeds into it. I think Brady's right. I think that, again, with the weapons around him, if this O-line, plays to their full potential, I don't see anyone being able to slow this team down.
I'm right there with you. And I do think Rodgers is one of those athletes that he's at his best when he has exterior motivation. And he doesn't have to search very far to find it. I mean, he had it going into last year, and then the injury happened. But Now people are saying he's washed, he's done, he's this, he's that. And I think he's going to go out there, and assuming he's healthy, which is obviously the biggest thing, I think he's still capable of playing like a top 10 quarterback in the league. Maybe he could be even higher than that. What are your reasonable expectations for the version of Aaron Rodgers we see with the Jets this season?
Well, that is the one thing, right? We know how good Aaron Rodgers has been in the past. He's got a year off. He's 40 now. But at the same time, he's a guy who's able to dissect defenses. And, how many times have we seen him just sit back and tear defenses apart? He knows what he's looking at. He's not afraid. He knows he can make any throw that he's got to make. The one question, will there be an issue with processing early on? A year away from the game, a year older. Mentally, is he going to be as sharp? Even if he's a little bit sluggish early on, I don't see why he wouldn't pick up and sort of play to the level he's capable of. I think best case scenario for Rodgers is sort of, top 8, which again, this team won 7 games with bottom 2 quarterback play last year. You go from 31st, 32nd to 8th. You're going to be absolutely fine. And I know that, or I think that the absolute worst, maybe he's the 12th, 13th best guy in the league if he's like I said, gets off to a slow start. But I really think, I get that it's just camp and it's just, joint practices. But everything we're seeing, everything we're hearing from people that are watching him up close, he doesn't look any different than he has in the past.
And that to me is the biggest thing, right? Like, and I do think that if he felt like he needed the preseason, I think he would have played. I think he feels ready to go. And I think the fact that he did get back and practice on the scout team in December last year should not be overlooked. He's referenced that it didn't feel like it was like anything new when he reported to all the OTA stuff and then training camp. He's like, I've been around the team, even though I wasn't playing, I still was there. We know he went to all the games, for the most part, traveling across the country to be there. So I'm with you. The biggest thing is just him staying healthy. But, the thing with that is it's not like he has a history of injuries, right? I mean, a year ago, the 2 biggest quarterbacks we talked about with health concerns were Tua and Lamar Jackson. And ironically, they were 2 of the only guys that actually played every game for their team last year. So it's a year-to-year league. I get it. He's 40, but I'm not going to sit here and live my life in fear with Rodgers getting hurt. Like, if he has to miss a game or 2, thank God they have Tyrod Taylor. There's no excuse for this team to still not be able to reach their goals, even if Aaron can't play all 17 games.
Yeah, I mean, it's of course it's something to be aware of, but you can't even me last year, half jokingly, and I always say, jinxes and curses, they're not real, but when the Rodgers trade happened, this is as a Jets fan, of course I knew how big that was. I didn't realize quite how big it was till I get a text the following morning from a friend of mine who's a Brit and isn't a football fan, but he texts me, "Hey, I just saw on the news that you guys got this guy, Aaron Rodgers. He must be good." And I thought, wow, this is making headlines in the UK. And I half jokingly said, look, it's the Jets. He'll probably get hurt week 1 anyway. So don't, I'm not going to get too ahead of myself. And Jesus, did that ever happen? And what a nightmare that was. But when you've got a guy like Aaron Rodgers on your roster and he's capable of playing to the level that he is, again, even a bad year for Aaron Rodgers historically would be good enough with this. I saw you earlier, Jake, and this is a number that I forget who brought it up earlier in the offseason, right? His record when his team gives up less than 20 points, 80-10 or whatever it is. That this is a defense. You look at what they did last year, knowing that they, especially the back half of the year, team that had nothing to play for. They knew if they gave up 13 points, the game was over. But now this team is going to know that Aaron Rodgers has their back. They're going to be playing hard and shutting people down.
What to you are the minimum expectations you have for this team, Glenn? Like if I say to you, the Jets go out there and they do this season, you'll be satisfied with the result, even if it doesn't end up being Super Bowl champions.
I think 11-6 and a playoff win, is the minimum, and the ceiling is a Super Bowl. It's not even the Super Bowl odds right now. Years past they're 100-1. I went and looked a couple days ago. Some places have them, 18-1, 19-1, which isn't that bad. So Super Bowl is obviously the achievable ceiling, but I think worst case scenario, you win 11 games, and you win a playoff game.
Today's show is brought to you by the Jake Asman Patreon, folks. For less than a cup of coffee a month, you could sign up for the Patreon and get bonus shows that are not on YouTube. Get your name added to the countdown ticker. Get yourself access to our exclusive Discord channel. It is easy. All you need to do is go to patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. Huge shout out to listener Raul Marino, who signed up for the year, saved 15% by doing that. And oh yeah, became a Patreon member. By the way, another perk with your membership, and by now you know this, Jet fans, Asmaniacs, every item in the merch store is 15% off included with your Patreon membership. So if you plan on buying merch from jakeasman.com, you're going to save more than $5. You're basically getting your Patreon membership for the month for free. How's that for some math? Patreon.com/JakeAsmanShow. Glenn, I want to talk to you about this roster. I want to get your thoughts on some of these tough decisions the Jets have to make by tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. Before we do that, though, let's talk about the Haason Reddick situation, because I have not had you on since that, of course, has gone down. What's your take on where we are with Reddick? When do you think he reports? Do you think he reports? Let's hear it.
You know, I tend to think he'll report before week 1, because once you start missing game checks, like, that becomes big money real quick. And this whole thing is about money. I think, and I'm not saying this just because I'm a Jets fan and I want them to quote unquote win this thing with him. But I think he's getting bad advice. He's on, it's not as if Haason Reddick had joined the team that was in dire need of a pass rusher and couldn't get to the quarterback without him, he would hold all the cards. But the Jets, especially with the way Will McDonald has looked through camp, not just games, joint practices, team practices, you hear him constantly getting to the quarterback, hitting the quarterback. You've got Jermaine Johnson. You've got Quinnen Williams. You've got ways to get to the quarterback. Now, listen, it's preseason. We'll have to see what happens with Zach McKinley. But I think McKinley's looked fantastic in the games that I've watched them, or the snaps that I've watched him really quick off the ball. So Haason Reddick isn't really in a position where he can look at the Jets and say, without me, you're not getting to the quarterback. They will be able to get to the quarterback. Now, he'll make it easier, of course. So I think the fact that the real money is going to start hitting in week 1, I would expect him to come in. But if his agents have him dug in enough to where they're willing to say, let's miss some real games and make them hurt a little, and he can still get a vested year. He's only got to be back by week, 10, 11, and he gets a vested year. I'm not saying that's what will happen. I'm just, because I've had people ask me, what's the worst case scenario? He's not going to sit out the year, because then the Jets still hold his rights. So in order to get his vested year to hit free agency, he's got to be on the roster for 6 weeks. So that would be the worst case, but I don't think he lets it get that far, because this is about money, and he's only losing money by sitting out.
What's your take on the defensive line without him? And that kind of, is, I would say a good segue jumping off point to,
right,
the discussion about the 53, because I think some of the toughest decisions they got to make by tomorrow at 4 Eastern is with that defensive line room minus Haason Reddick.
100%. The D-line room, I think, is really tough. You look at a guy, like I mentioned, Will McDonald. Braden McGregor's looked fantastic, but he's still a UDFA. It's still preseason. You don't want to, you're not going to go ahead and pencil him in as a regular contributor who's going to get you a bunch of sacks, but he is playing well enough that he has a chance to make this roster. But across the board, I think the most interesting one to me, Jake, is John Franklin Meyer's replacement. Who's going to fill his shoes? Are they going to look to a guy like Jalen Holmes, who has played inside and outside, very similar in size to him, looked all right in the reps he got late last year, and has looked really good in preseason? Then you have the UDFA, Eric Watts. He's picked up a couple of sacks. He's big enough to play on the inside and outside. Like, who's going to be that movable piece that can fill that JFM gap that got left with that trade? So to me, I look at Holmes and I look at Michael Clemens, who they asked to gain weight last year, but Saleh came out and said this week, that was a mistake, didn't work out. Clemens is strictly going to be an outside guy. So I don't really think he's in a spot to be a potential replacement for Franklin Myers, but I think they're going to want someone that has that little bit of flexibility that they're missing by losing JFM. So Jalen Holmes is a big question. Michael Clemens, he's a tough one, because he has some really good reps in preseason. He's strong at the point of attack. You do see him hold up. He's not a guy that's going to get to the quarterback a ton, but the thing that scares me with him is the number of times this preseason that I saw him bite on play fakes and RPOs, and he's chasing the wrong guy, and I'm like, I've seen that 3 or 4 times in just a couple of games. How many times can you do that before the team looks at it and says, you know what, maybe this guy doesn't stick? I think him being a draft pick really helps, but I think when a guy like Jalen Holmes plays as well as he has, it could put his roster spot in jeopardy. But the guy that I'm most interested in seeing, because of the fact that you look at the fact he was a first-round pick, yes, he struggled through the first few years of his career, but Javon Kinlaw, talking about how he's put on all this muscle, I've added 30 pounds of muscle, which just seems impossible, but he's a much bigger guy. He's got first-round talent. He's playing for a team that's done a really great job of developing young guys. So I think he could be sort of the sneaky guy that people aren't really counting on to have a big year, but he could be a real factor up there. I mean, Quinnen Williams, without him, the entire dynamic of this line changes. He's just phenomenal. So Quinnen next to him with Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald on the edges, and some of these young guys having a chance to maybe get some run with Reddick out of the picture for now. I think it's going to be a fun group to watch.
I'm right there with you. And I do think to your point on Kinlaw, like he'd be the latest example of the Jets taking a guy they believe in, know he has talent, throw him next to Quinnen Williams, and watch him have a great year and they get paid. I mean, we saw this 2 years ago with Sheldon Rankins, last year with Quentin Jefferson. I could very easily see Kinlaw maybe being the best of the three in that role because I think he's got a lot of talent to be really good.
Yeah, but that's of the guys you mentioned, he's easily the most talented guy, right? So if they can harness that, Aaron Whitecott and that whole staff, we've seen it many times where, as you said, they plug someone in next to Quinnen Williams and they get guys to sort of play their best football. So I think Kinlaw is the guy that could kind of be sneaky, come from out of nowhere and have a career year.
We're talking with Glenn Naughton. Make sure you guys check out Glenn's excellent work. I mean, the plug was just right there on the screen, but it's Jet Nation Radio, jetnation.com, right, Glenn? That's the website?
Absolutely.
Jetnation.com. So check that out. Some super chats here, and then I want to get more into the roster here. Hennessy checks in. He goes, Glenn spitting facts. Great guest today. Thank you, Henny. Glenn's awesome.
Henny, thank you.
This one is from John. He wants to know, we keep McGregor, Tack, and Leonard Tiller III. I say yes. What say you, Glenn? Perfect kind of jumping off point here.
Yeah, absolutely. I had them on my final 53. Funny, right after the draft, I fired off this tweet saying, the draft never goes exactly how every person would like it. But, I'd said after the draft wrapped up, probably the two things that disappointed me most is we didn't see a DT and we didn't see a developmental edge. Then they added those guys as UDFAs. And I tweeted out like, okay, like this is good news because, with Taylor, he's a guy that a lot of us talked about pre-draft as a guy that many people the previous year thought would be a round one pick. His play slipped. So you're thinking maybe he's a third or fourth rounder. McGregor, watched him a bunch at Michigan, liked what I saw from him in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. So to me, I felt like, all right, they didn't draft a DT and a developmental edge, but I think they may have just gotten two who can make the roster. And I think they're going to do that.
Malcolm Harper with an Asmaniac super chat. Garrett Wilson should be happy right now with the extension of CeeDee Lamb since he is eligible for an extension next season. Garrett Wilson's next contract will start with $30 million a year. That is what I think Lamb's contract means. Look at what Jalen Waddle got. Cap only goes up. Garrett Wilson's next deal with the Jets starts with a 3 in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been talking about this for a while now with this, this super class that it's nice. It's a nice problem to have. The Jets fans haven't had in a long time. They have some very young, very talented guys who could be up for new deals. Now, that doesn't mean every guy in that class will want one right away. But I keep saying, I look at Sauce and I look at Garrett. To me, Sauce outside of Aaron is the face of the franchise, multi-time All-Pro already. And Garrett, I think, is going to break every receiving record on the team this year. So those two guys I look at, and this is, listen, this is a business. And their agents aren't doing their jobs. If they do what we expect them to do this year, their agents aren't doing their jobs if they don't go to Joe Douglas and say, we need a new deal. Like you've got a face of the franchise guy and a dude that just broke a bunch of records. I'm assuming he's going to. We need some money. And that may happen. But listen, it's nice to finally have that problem.
Way better problem to have than what the problems have been during this playoff drought, Glenn. 100%.
Exactly. Rather than overpaying for other people's washed out veterans.
Oh, the pain. No doubt about that. Comments, questions, super chats for Glenn. We'll open up the Gusbuster hotline here in just a second. I have an exciting emoji announcement I want to make for all the Asmaniacs. I just checked before the show. We are, I believe, 28 away from me being able to add our new emoji. Ladies and gentlemen, 13-year-old Connor Long emoji, baby. Shout out to listener Joe Mike for sending me this. But by the way, Connor is so young, he doesn't even remember Mark Sanchez as the Jet quarterback. I just want everyone to understand how young this kid is who calls our show. All right, his first quarterback memory is Josh McCown, to put it in perspective, all right? But Connor's going to get his own emoji if we get 27 more channel members between now and the end of the show. So shout out to Connor and shout out to all the Asmaniacs out there for their support. Glenn, when it comes to the receiver room, what's your take on who makes the team? I think you got the 5 locks. What about wide receiver 6, maybe 7? Your thoughts there?
Yeah, it's funny. I actually talked about that today on my show, the wide receiver 7 thing. I've kind of had Irv Charles penciled in ever since they let Justin Hardy walk, because I felt like they let Hardy go because Irv Charles was so good as a gunner last season. But really watching some of these games over the last couple of days, I don't know that you're still going to need that guy with the new kickoff rules. It's sort of it may be diminished slightly. So Irv Charles, while I had him as a lock before, I'm looking at other guys who have done a nice job in that role. Stiggers, I think, has looked solid. So Charles, I'm not as sold on, but I think you have the locks. I think Gibson and Brownlee make it again. I really like Brownlee. We know the team likes Brownlee. Part of that. Look, I talked him up a lot pre-draft. I thought he would be a good day 3 pick. Ended up not going. The Jets grabbed him. So I've always been a big Brownlee guy. We all saw, one Jets drive that year where they talked about him in the draft room and said, we see this guy as a round 4 type guy who could develop into a starter. And, I've had people say, oh, he hasn't really done much this preseason. None of the receivers have. But we've been hearing his name an awful lot in the joint practices when Aaron Rodgers is at quarterback. I think he had a couple touchdowns against Washington. So he's making his plays. He had a slow start, but I think Brownlee will come on. I think Gibson is safe. Of course, the other, Lazard, Corley, all these guys, they're going to stick. So I think those are the two that round it out. And Irv Charles, to me, I'm sort of up in the air on. I think we could see him go because they're just, for once we have enough talent to worry about these things that every roster spot is really going to count.
Izzy Abanikanda, is he on the team?
Here's why I'm saying yes. I'm not going to, and same thing with Izzy. I talked about this earlier. I was nearly hyperventilating when I did my show when they drafted him because I loved Izzy. I think I actually had to re-record because I was like, calm down, dude. Just so explosive. Brings so much to the table from a speed perspective. He did have to improve as a player. And me, and I talked about this on my show, I'm trying not to be the homer who just locks in every guy who I loved. So I eased off with Izzy and I didn't have him on my initial 53. It seems that I'm not the only, there are a lot of people, every 53 I look at is saying Glenn's wrong. This guy's making it. So I'm looking at it that, one key factor is when you read about what Boyer said about Isaiah Davis when they did that piece on NewYorkJets.com a couple months ago or a month or so ago, where they spoke about him almost exclusively about the number of different roles he can fill on specials. So I'm like, maybe they really do view this guy as a special teamer early on, and that opens the door for Izzy to make this roster. I think he's done enough to make it. I think, Joe Douglas said it when he arrived here, right? Speed creates pressure and pressure breaks pipes. They want guys who can make big plays. Izzy is that guy. You look at the numbers he put up in the preseason, and he was doing that, I want to see him run with the ones. I want to see Izzy Abanikanda run with a little bit. He had one game last year where he had more than 4 carries, and it was against Washington. He had 9 carries, and he averaged like 4.85 yards a carry. I think Izzy can run the ball, and I think behind this O-line, he could be a real weapon.
To me, he just has a skill set that other guys in that room don't necessarily have. Plus, it's a position group that by nature leads to injuries. So
yes.
I rather keep him because he did everything you could possibly ask him to do in the preseason. 2 touchdowns, 6.1 yards per carry, no penalties, no drops. Like, what more does the guy need to do? If he's not going to make the team, someone's going to have him on their team because someone's going to claim him.
Well, and that was something I said, I had a couple of people saying to me, no, he'll be a practice squad guy. I said, he's not making it to the practice squad.
No.
This is a guy, listen, you can argue where he stood ranking wise, but I believe it was Mac Brown when they had to play UNC when UNC had to play Pitt. And he said, look, this guy might be the best running back in the country. And I get that coaches, sometimes there's lip service and they talk guys up. You don't have to take it quite to that extreme and say this guy's the best in the country. And the guy just made big play after big play after big play in college. He did it last preseason when he got some carries as a rookie. We saw him, we saw the spin move, we saw the burst, we saw the speed, and now again this year. So I think, there may have been some concerns about his running style. They wanted him to, be a little bit more willing to lower his pad level and hit the hole and run between the tackles. He's done all that this year. And as you said, Jake, like what's the point of keeping a guy on the roster, playing him, having him play to that level, and then saying, see you later?
Right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank our guy, Ricky NY, who's getting in on the membership gifting.
Oh, nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, Realistic Jet Fan is now an Asmaniac. We are 26 channel members away from the Connor Long emoji being added into the channel member arsenal. Shout out to all the Asmaniacs out there. Glenn, I'm going to open up some questions now for you. So once again, if you want in on the conversation, super chat it in or call in on the Gusbuster hotline. The Lane Train, the great Lane Kerner, he chimes in. He wants to know, can the Jets win in week 1?
Not only can they, but with all these guys in San Fran who are either holding out or missing time due to injury, you got Trent Williams an issue, you got Brandon Ayuk's an issue, McCaffrey's missed a little bit of time, Pearsall's missed some time. I think this, and listen, I'm not one of these guys who likes to pile on Brock Purdy and say he's overrated system. I think Brock Purdy does some good things as a quarterback, but I just think this defense is going to be a little bit too much for him, and the Jets are going to be able to keep that San Francisco offense in check, and I think they're going to win that game.
The Lane Train checking in. I'll say this. So much has been about, Rodgers first came back, and I get it. He's the biggest star in the sport playing in that game. So much has been Haason Reddick. I mean, you bring it up. Christian McCaffrey dealing with an injury right now. His status up in the air for that game. Brandon Ayuk holding in. His status up in the air for that game. Trent Williams holding out. His status up in the air for that game. And even some of the other storylines with the Niners that aren't being talked enough about that we now can talk about because we're 2 weeks out. I mean, Elijah Mitchell, Dre Greenlaw, Ricky Pearsall, all these guys are not going to either be on the field or won't be in football shape for that game, in addition to the players we already mentioned. Like, that's a big deal.
That's what I mean. The Jets, knock on wood, the Jets are relatively healthy right now. The biggest issue they will have is Reddick being out. But I'll tell you what, especially if even if you get Trent Williams into camp, and look, he's first ballot Hall of Famer, you're not going to find a better guy than him. But I'd still, you'd still think he needs a week or two of actual football contact. It's every time I hear somebody say this guy, he's working out on his own, he's working out at home, he's staying in shape. Like, but there's in shape and there's football shape. Like, it's not the same thing. Lifting weights and running on the treadmill isn't the same thing as slamming into Jermaine Johnson 15, 20 times. Those are just different things. And yes, Trent Williams has been there before. He's one of the best ever. But would it be unreasonable to say there might be a little bit of rust week one, and this Jets D-line may not be the best team to be rusty against?
Completely agree. And by the way, I'm not also going to do the doom and gloom thing like many in the media will try to if they lose week one. They lose week one.
Not at all.
Guess what's going to happen? They're going to go out there and rattle off 4 straight wins and be 4-1
Exactly.
going into that game against the Bills on Monday night.
That was my exact thought the other night when I was watching the preseason game and they flashed up the schedule. I thought, all right, again, even thinking they'll beat San Fran, I'm not saying it's a lock. A loss wouldn't shock me. You are flying out west. They are still a very talented team with or without the guys they have. They've got a very good coaching staff. Like, I'm not saying it's going to be a cakewalk. And if they do lose that was my exact thought. I thought, well, you can win week one. And if you don't, you should still be 4-1, in the month that follows.
I got video here of Haason Reddick working out from one of his personal coaches, Brandon Jordan, who's a pass rush specialist, pass rushing coach, just posted video of Reddick going through some drills. Unclear where this is, but I'm going to screen share it so the audience can see it. So, look, I have said it. I don't think Reddick necessarily plays week one, Glenn, but I do think he shows up right before the deadline to get his game check for week one. So that's either September 2nd or September 3rd, so he gets paid. But here's some video of Haason Reddick seemingly still trying to stay in football shape, gearing up for the upcoming season. What do you make of this, if anything, of Reddick's coach posting this publicly?
Well, this is probably a thing where they want it out there. They want to get Jets fans, get your mouths watering and start pressuring the team, get this done, get this guy in here because, he is an elite talent and he's going, you would fully expect he's going to keep himself in the best shape possible with week one coming. And you touched on something there, Jake, that I thought was really interesting with Robert Saleh the other day. I know they're, and I don't blame them. They're kind of staying away from it. We're only talking about the guys that are here and all that. But a lot of times when teams are in this situation and the season is approaching, you'll hear a coach or a GM say like, oh, well, if he's not here by such and such date, he's probably not playing week one. And I wondered why nobody had asked Saleh that. And the other day a reporter did, and Saleh didn't commit to it. But I would have expected something along the lines of, if he's not here 10 days or 14, however many days before, for us to get him ramped up, he won't play, which tells me they're leaving the door open to play him. Whether or not he will, if that's the right thing, the last thing we want to see is him get rushed back and get hurt. That early on in this process, that was my concern. When he misses that first week and you're like, we'll see where this goes. Once they put the pads on and start hitting, I said like, okay, now they're getting into football stuff. And if this guy shows up, whether it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks from then, is he going to push himself too hard to try to get caught up with his peers and end up, missing more time, which is, we've seen that in the past. You just don't want to have that happen.
Dom C, who was our big guest on the morning show I did today, he knows Jersey like the back of his hand. He says Reddick is in Camden, New Jersey. So, okay, Reddick's still in the area. Very easy to get in the car and drive up to Florham Park and sign the deal.
Good to hear. Good to hear. And in fact, now that I look back, I believe I was in the when you had Dom C on from the from Mobile. We were all sharing the same house. No, not Dom. Dom was in the house, but you had one of the Mobile guys on during, because I remember
Jets Chaos.
Yeah, you had Jets Chaos on, and I remember, what did he say? Something about was it Bo Limmer? He said take him off your draft boards. He had a bad day, and I thought that might be a little too early. One bad day, but they were all great guys. We had a great time down there. Dom, we're hoping to do some draft collaboration stuff in the future. And, Jeremy, all really good guys, and hoping to get together with them in Mobile again next year.
NY Jets Florida says, why are we not cutting players yet? There's been a couple that have been leaked out. The Jets don't have to do anything until 4 p.m. tomorrow. So teams are going to take their time.
Yeah, Valade went and Blades went, but those are the only two names I've seen so far.
Hit the like button if you're tuning in right now. I'm looking to see if there's any other videos of Haason Reddick emerging here, but good to see that he's doing something. So just sitting on the couch. Comments, questions, super chats, keep sending them in. Aurora writes in, here's a hot take. Lane Kerner needs a Jake Asman membership. Make it happen. All right, Aurora. If you're the listener who gifts the Lane Train his channel membership, any 2 items of your choice from the Jake Asman merch store will be yours. We'll up the ante a little bit to get some channel members gifted for the Lane Train. All right, let's open up the Gustbuster Umbrella hotline right now. We say good afternoon to Purple Belt Mike, who leads us off. What's up, Mike?
Yo, what's up?
How we doing, Mike?
What's the floor for the Jets if we get Aaron to finish in the top 5 in MVP? Because that's what's going to happen. Let's go Jets, baby.
Mike, good call. That's a great question because everyone's always talking about the floor, like just what you view the team is. But now we're adding in the caveat. You get MVP level play from Rodgers, top 5 in the league. What's the floor? I think the floor is 12 wins at that point, personally.
Yeah, I mean, that to me, Rodgers being top 5 MVP is best case scenario. And in that situation, you're looking at 12, 13 wins, 13-4 type season.
I think I would pick them to go probably 13-4 if they got top 5 quarterback play from Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Which would be a Jet record, by the way, folks. They've never won more than 12 games in a regular season.
That would be quite the ride.
More calls right now. Kyle Clifton is up next. What's up, Kyle?
What's going on, Jake? What's up, Glenn? I just got back from a long weekend in Hershey with Little Miss Clifton and Clifton Jr. And I turned on YouTube and I thought that Fialco or Connor were hosting the show in lieu of Jake because he's shaved. I have 2 questions. First one being, when Reddick is ready to come in, who suffers? Personally, I think it's going to be Tack. I wanted to hear what your guys' thoughts were on it. And the second one is,
do you mean like who's going to get cut for him?
Yeah. I think they have to lose one of the ends once he does come in.
I think it'd be like a McGregor type. I think Tack's on this team. Former first-round guy. Olbrich loves him. I think he's on the team.
I think it's going to be one of the young guys or Clemens.
Clemens could be an interesting answer too.
Good because Clemens, you look at Clemens and McGregor, like who's got the higher ceiling right now? Who are you looking at and saying this guy? Like Clemens has been in the league a few years. You kind of know what he is, whereas McGregor is flashing, some pretty high potential.
The second question being, who do we think out of the reserve interior linemen is going to make it? Are we talking Haason? Are we talking Levea? Are we talking Newman? What are you guys' thoughts on it?
Go ahead, Glenn.
I think Newman makes it. I like Haason. I thought he played pretty solid in the limited reps we saw him get last year. Leveo, I think, has been fantastic. UFL product who, to me, looked good in all 3 games. And as I was doing, he was one of the guys. There were a couple of guys I really agonized over not putting on the roster, and he was one of them for me. Will he make it to the practice squad with the way he's played this offseason? He might, and I think the Jets would 100% put him there if they don't keep him on the roster. But I think Newman is the guy who sticks. I think they're going to want a veteran in there, so that's going to be Schweitzer. And And I think Haason will be another practice squad type. Glazer's an interesting one, right? They worked him in at center this year, having been a guard previously, adding some versatility. Rodgers praised him in practice a couple weeks ago as a guy who was having a really good camp. So for it's nice for a change. They've got looks like they have some solid depth pieces they're going to have to take a look at.
Yep, I pretty much have the same exact kind of breakdown with the O-line as you do there. It's amazing, by the way, because I did this before the show because I'm nuts. I looked at the Jets O-line depth chart a year ago to what it is right now, and in hindsight, we should have thought it was nuts that we were talking Super Bowl. I'm not saying they wouldn't have been a playoff team if Aaron's played 17 games. I think they probably would have been 10-7, right? And maybe they could have won a playoff game, but like the ceiling for this team is Super Bowl. I think looking back on it, knowing what we knew about the O-line now, the ceiling for the team a year ago was probably win a playoff game. Like it is crazy how one, deeper they are, but two, just the talent is oozing off the charts when you talk about the O-line this year compared to last year.
Yeah, and I gave him somewhat of a pass last year because I know a lot of people killed Douglas for not having a better third option at tackle. But in my mind, and I could be wrong, I'm guessing here, but I think they went into it and said, if we can keep just one of the two tackles healthy, which they essentially did with Becton, we can plug in AVT at the other tackle spot if worse comes to worse. And then a tackle gets hurt and, Brown gets hurt and then AVT gets hurt. So it's like you had three tackles, two of the three get hurt, and if the wheels fell off from there. But this year, there clearly was an emphasis on, and listen, that was the silver lining last year, right? I know sitting through one of however many losses, whichever loss it was last year, I thought to myself, the silver lining here could be that a guy like Newman, a guy like Haason, like one of these guys, they get meaningful reps this year, and that carries over to next year in their development, and they're that much further along, having gotten real live reps, and a lot of them. So I feel like that has been the case, and now Newman looks like a much improved player, and now rather than have guys that are practice squad guys who've never played before, your depth is made up of guys who are a little bit battle-tested, and, you have a guy like Schweitzer who started some games, and as I said, Newman started some games last year, and I agree, I think, and of course by bringing in by adding Olu, and Carter Warren, who I think too many people wrote off too quickly. The number of people I saw give up on Carter Warren like the day after he was picked. The number of times I saw people say, we don't have another young tackle on the roster. And I'm like, well, he's not playing right now, but Carter Warren is there. He's had a good camp. Only two linemen on the roster to not give up a pressure this preseason. No pressures, hit sacks, and 54 reps. And I think he can develop into a player too.
Good point on Warren. And like sometimes it just takes time with linemen, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And these guys are all in such good situations, though. Like I know we get on Keith Carter, but I mean, when you got such a veteran-led O-line room, like when you got Tyron, you got Morgan there, like that's huge for these guys that are, basically getting a chance to learn from two of the best to do it in the league.
Absolutely. On either side, whether it's Warren on the right, learning from Moses and Olu working with Smith, and obviously when they're in the meeting rooms, they're all in there together. So it's almost like you've assembled a line that's good enough. No matter what you think of Keith Carter, there's enough experience in that building now for these guys to really learn from them.
Philly Noodles has gifted a channel membership. Did it go to Lane? It did not, but it did go to Gerbo Fotius. So Philly, appreciate your support, my man. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in live right now. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you haven't, we're talking with Glenn Naughton, who does an excellent job covering the Jets, Jet Nation Radio, jetnation.com. Check out his work there going forward. All right, Glenn, I want to ask you now about the biggest X factors for the team. Let's throw out the health stuff. We all understand Aaron's got to be healthy, yada, yada, yada. Removing that because it's the obvious one. Give me some X factors for the Jets to reach their goals this year. What has to happen?
We've got to see Mike Williams has to remain relatively healthy. And again, okay, throwing out the health. We can just say Mike Williams has to be not the guy he was several years ago, but he's just got to be productive enough to keep defenses honest, to make people account for him when they line up. Same with if Alan Lazard can play to the level he did 2 years ago, last time he was with Aaron Rodgers when he put up just under 800 yards. That gives Garrett Wilson a couple of really legitimate guys to work off of when he's getting doubled, gives Rodgers an option, a legitimate option when Wilson isn't there. We've got to get the tight ends involved. Like, can Jeremy Ruckert get a target, please? Like, I talked about this earlier on my show. I get there have been problems, but you cannot convince me Jeremy Ruckert would not be having a better career right now if he had gone elsewhere. He can't sniff a target. let's get Ruckert involved. I think Conklin's going to have a really nice year again with Rodgers. He put up respectable numbers with Zach Wilson as his quarterback. So now with Rodgers, you would expect even more there. On the other side of the ball, I think the DTs, anyone not named Quinnen Williams, we've mentioned Kinlaw is a guy who I think could break out, but these guys have to play well. There are some questions about the defense up the middle. Mosley's got to stay young, or play like he's young, because as many people have said, and I've been saying for a while now, he's getting long in the tooth. And when you play a position like that, if you lose a half a step, you're a completely different player. So they got to keep Mosley. Now, the one positive to that, and, I may be alone in this, but I don't think I am. I think Jamie and Sherwood's ready. I think if something were to happen and Mosley couldn't perform, I think Sherwood would be fine. I love Surratt, been a big fan of his since his UNC days. And Barnes has had himself a nice camp as well. So there is some depth there. Again, the theme here, right? There's a lot of depth. Same with safeties. That might be the one spot where there are some concerns about the depth because, again, Clark is a year off an injury, hasn't played in this system before. Tony Adams had a nice year, but it's not as if he's an established 5-6 year starter. You're still not 100% sure what you're going to get with him, but you feel pretty good about him. So I would say up the middle on defense, right? Like Mosley's got to stay fresh. The DTs have to step up and the safeties have to play well. But the edges and the corners should absolutely dominate. But I would say the X factor is up the middle on defense, and on offense, the receivers have to just play well enough to keep defenses honest.
Great breakdown. David writes in, win-loss prediction question. Should I revamp my thoughts about the ability of Pittsburgh to beat the Jets in light of their fertility in the preseason? Have been worried about Pittsburgh's stout defensive front. You just still got Mike Tomlin. It's still in Pittsburgh in primetime. Tough place to play. But let's be real. If we were making a spread for that game today, the Jets would be a road favorite going into that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this Jets defense against either of those quarterbacks, I would take them regardless of the venue.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, the Jets will probably lose a game or two. They're not supposed to lose because that's what happens. But like, there's a reason why. If you just look at the gambling spreads, they're a favorite, I think, in 14 of their 17 games.
Yeah, and there's no surprise there. They again, it's funny. My son's 10 years old, and he's just now really starting to get into this. And this is a conversation I had with him the other day as I'm explaining football to him. I'm like, look, you have your team on paper, but then you have your team on the field. On paper, the Jets are great, but that doesn't mean anything if you don't play well on the field. And right now, all we got is paper. There's no games, there's no results. So on paper, the Jets should absolutely win that game, but gotta make it happen.
Now, for those who don't know, Glenn is based in the UK. He's in England. So I'm always fascinated by anyone I have on the show that's not in the US. Break down what it takes for you to be able to watch this team game in, game out, with the time difference being what it is. A 1 o'clock game here, in New York. What time is that in the UK? This game on Monday Night Football 2 weeks from tonight, Glenn, what time is that kicking off for you in England?
Those are rough. The 1 p.m. games are the best because it's a 6 p.m. kickoff, so it's 6 to 9, not a big deal. When we start getting into the night games, you're talking 1:30 in the morning kickoff. And my son is now, and credit to him, like he's young enough. Like, I'm trying to be a responsible parent. The plan was you can watch games on replay the next day. You're not staying up. But then we made a deal. If I take a nap before the game and then sleep after the game, can I do that? And I said, only if as long as there's no teachers telling me you're falling asleep in class, you can do that. So now that's the routine. Game day, he has a nap, wakes up for the game, goes to bed after the game. Me, I'm fortunate in that I work nights, so I'm normally up all night anyway. But there are days where if I'm not in my normal schedule and staying up till 1:30 in the morning, like I have a lot of friends, I have a lot of friends UK and Ireland who follow the team, who I'm talk with on social media all the time, and a lot of them are like, man, I can't do the game tonight. Like, I got to get up at 7 in the morning for work. I can't be up till 4:30 watching this team. But at least now, Jake, the plan is for them to be good. Like when I wasn't on nights, I remember staying up, watching them lose games, the games ending at 5 a.m. And I'm like, fantastic. I got to get up in half an hour for work. And I just ruined my sleep to watch this team lose.
I hope that changes this year, Glenn. I think it's going to, but someone like you, a dedicated fan who's covering this team in a different damn country, I truly hope you get rewarded for everything you've been through supporting this team.
Yeah, I hope so. It's been, most of my life was spent supporting them in the States, being from New York, but been out in England for like 12 years now. So it's been a long stretch here supporting them.
Final question, Glenn, because you're based in the UK, you're based in England. Jets, of course, are going to be out there against the Vikings. For anyone who's watching, who's making that trip like I plan to, what piece of advice can you give to a bunch of Jet fans coming across the pond to experience Jets football in the UK?
Oh God, I would say, experience the history. Like I love London, and I'm a history dork. I love that stuff. I'm a big World War II guy. I like a lot of. That's just throughout the UK. You can get to, go so many places. But if you're going into London, do the normal stuff that's on, every American TV show, Big Ben and all that. Fine, do that. But get off the beaten path a little bit. There's some really even some you can find like cool pubs, like the Mayflower pub is still up and running where the Mayflower docked before it went off on its journey. You can go to and I think as a matter of fact that's the only place in England where they legally sell United States postage stamps.
Wow.
that you can buy there. Yeah, it's wild, quirky little things. But yeah, do some research on historical, even because a lot of people, and especially depending on your age demo, it's like, oh, we're gonna go out to England, we're gonna go out and drink. Fine, go out and drink, but go to some places of historical significance. Go to the old Cheshire Cheese, which all the great writers, of years past, that pub's, hundreds of years old, 1666, or it was rebuilt after the Great Fire of 1666, and all the great writers that occupied it. You step in there and you feel like it's still then. Like they've made no upgrades, it just looks like the same place it was back then. So many places to see, so much history to absorb and take in. I highly recommend taking advantage of it for anyone who's coming out.
Do you ever get annoyed when you hear English people's impressions of how we Americans sound?
I don't get that a lot, to be honest.
I feel like we maybe make fun of the Brits more than they make fun of us.
Definitely.
Like I'm always talking about, I got to get my tea and crumpets and pip pip cheerio. They probably get sick of that.
Yeah, they probably do. I think I think when the people that I've gotten to know well enough, I get a fair number of gun jokes. Make sure you bring your gun to breakfast and things like that. And I play it up. I enjoy it and have a laugh. But that's the thing about England. When you get to know folks, the sense of humor, the dry humor, it's fantastic. It's same thing with Ireland. I've always loved the relatability. Maybe because my parents, grandparents from Ireland and England, that's what I grew up around. But the sense of humor is fantastic. They can take a joke, but you better be able to take one back because they can dish them out too.
Yeah, all that needs to be said is that England blew a 13 colony league, Glenn.
They did. I actually showed that T-shirt to my wife. I forget where I saw it with somebody wearing it.
Well, there was a Phillies fan that wore it to the Mets Phillies series in the UK, and I'm like, that is the most Philly thing I've ever seen.
Now that you say it, because I'd seen that once before, and then I was going to say this year on the 4th of July. Even though we're in England, we're near the Air Force Base I used to be stationed at, and they do a 4th of July celebration every year. So we go up there. It's all day. It's food trucks, fireworks, music. And I scrolled through and I showed that to my wife. That was the day I saw it. I said, she didn't get it at first. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, you guys have 13 colonies? We had none. And she's like, oh, okay. I get it.
I love it. Glenn, one more time for people who tuned in late, where can people find you?
Yeah, we're live weekly on Jet Nation Radio, Jet Nation Live. We'll tweet them out. We'll put them out on Facebook and jetnation.com, most active Jets message board on the web. Always a place for Jets fans to gather and talk about and cover any topic, and pretty liberal with the stuff we let people get away with as long as they don't go too insane.
Love it. Glenn, thanks for hopping on, man. We'll do it again soon. I cannot wait to hopefully meet you in person when I come out to London for Jets Vikings in October. That'd be great, Jake. We can try to set that up, man, because I'm planning on going. Love it. Glenn Naughton checking in with us. Make sure you guys follow his work. Check out the website he mentioned. Great job talking all things Jets. Frankly, Glenn answered your question there at the buzzer. He says, you going to the Minnesota game? Glenn's saying he's planning on making that happen. So there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Purple Rain is what they're calling it. Purple Belt Mike has just dropped a 5-spot of channel membership.
Yeah, here we come, baby. Here we come. Here come the Jets, baby.
Yeah, Rex, here we go. 5 memberships. David Hall Jr., Dennis Moore, Joe Cool NYC, Daniel Nazario, Emilio Renovato Jr. You guys are all channel members. Shout out to PBM for making it rain here on the show. All right, open phone lines if you want in on the conversation. Comments, questions, super chats will cut the line. Now, I know a lot of people saw the 13-year-old Connor Long emoji, and they said he needs to have a football in his hand. I want you guys to know the emoji is being updated. All right. This emoji will soon feature Connor. By the way, it's CONNOR, Joe Mike. So we'll update that too. But we're going to add the football to 13-year-old Connor's hands. All right. He deserves it. He deserves it. Hit the like button if you're tuning in. And there's still 400 of you tuned in right now. So a reminder, if you missed the announcement, watch party 2 weeks from tonight. Need I say more? RSVP with the link in the description. Free event, week 1 and week 2. We're only doing RSVPs for week 1 right now. T-Squared Social, the Jet Bar all season long. We got watch parties for week 1 and week 2 already locked in. 2 weeks from tonight, baby. Brock Purdy, you're going to be running for your life. Maybe Haason Reddick will be a part of that too after that video we played earlier in the show. Okay, I promised you an updated emoji. Folks, the football is now in the hands of Connor. So we get enough channel members. I think we just got 5 from Mike. We're at 20. We need either 22 or 23, and I can make that adjustment. So there you go. All right, open phone lines. If you want in on the conversation, click the Gusbuster hotline link to join the show. Appreciate everyone out there who's tuned in. Big Will writes in, do you prefer 3 or 4 game preseason? The 3 game gives players a shorter window to show their self-worth to make the team. If you start the preseason 1 to 2 weeks earlier, you could do it. They're never going to start the preseason earlier, Big Will. They're just not. Do I prefer 3 or 4? I prefer 3. In fact, I prefer no preseason. I don't need it. I'm good without it. You know what? Here's what's going to happen. They're going to add an 18th game and subtract a preseason game. That's what's coming. But I'm good on the preseason. You know, it gives us something to talk about. But if they got rid of it altogether, I wouldn't lose sleep. I really wouldn't. We're going to get to a point where there's probably just 1 preseason game pretty soon. NY Jets Florida says, Connor looks like a young Bonesy. I don't know about that one. Does he? I don't see it. Jeffrey says, sideline hot dog for Sanchez in one hand and football for Connor in the other. So you want a hot dog in the other hand. All right. That maybe could be done. Pittsburgh Mike says we're dangerously close to 1 preseason game. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if we got down to 1 shortly either. I think we'll go to 2 first, and then we'll go to 1. Marcelo writes in, how many games would our current team win with Mark Sanchez? Considering I think this is their most talented team since that 2010 team with Sanchez, I think they're probably 10-7 with Mark. Now, mind you, I'm just replacing Aaron Rodgers with 2010 Mark Sanchez, who people – now, you guys are going to have to bear with me here. I'm not going to Google it yet. I believe Mark Sanchez threw 17 touchdowns and had 13 interceptions in year 2. I'm going to check right now if I'm right. Let's see. 17 touchdowns, 13. Damn, I'm good. 3,291 yards. Team was 11-5. I think they'd be 10-7. 10-7, 11-6 with Mark. Assuming Brees stayed healthy for the whole year because they would have the ground and pound. All right. That would be the path to winning with Mark. Mark could manage the offense, and they would ground and pound. That's the key. Here we come, baby.
Yeah, here we come, baby. Here we come. Here come the Jets, baby.
Ground and pound. Let's go. Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. We get back to your calls right now. We say hello to an absolute legend. Ladies and gentlemen, Keith Best.
Oh, my God. How am I got to turn my TV off because, I mean, hey, Jake, what you did this morning helps. And I really want to give that money away to the kids with cancer that I can't mention on here. I mean, I got my bills too, but it's, you know, I go in 3 times a week in the morning, and I see kids that have nothing. They have absolutely nothing. But I got my Jets jersey on that. The Asmaniacs bought me this. Okay, number 1, and it's got my name on my last name on the back vest. And
well, Keith, let me say this for those who maybe missed the first show. We started a GoFundMe for Keith to help him with some of his medical expenses from all the chemo treatments he's been undergoing. This was from this morning. We're now closer, I think, to over $2,000 raised. I just put the link in the live chat for those who want to contribute, but all the money is going to go to Keith and his family, and the Asmaniacs have come out and they have supported like I knew they would.
Yeah. It's amazing. You know, this cancer thing in South Florida here is big business. To be handed a bill of $500,000 and then you try to figure out what are you going to do? You know, what are you going to do? You know, I've never met Chef Chemist will write you one day and say, we battle through this, you know, because that's what we do. You get up in the morning, you go to chemo. I do a lot of meditation meetings, and you know, you guys are all still on the cycle of life. And what happens when you get knocked off that cycle? It's like, you know, we got the cut sheet coming up tomorrow at 4 or whatever time tomorrow. Who's going to survive and who's going to get cut? And you thought about that person that really inspired you the last couple of weeks and saying he should be there. And he may not. And then what does he do next? Because you never know. And that's a big inspiration for me. Is like, I don't know. I've been coming to these games since my father brought me in Shea Stadium since I'm 9 years old, and I'm 60 now. And I've been watching this team, all the downs, all the ups. You know, the moment you saw, you know, our old quarterback falter, I'm like, oh my God, what did he do again? You know? And the thing is, what's important in the value of what inspires you to wake up in the morning? Kevin said it best a couple of months ago. He says, I woke up this morning. And I do that daily. I'm Jake, I'm a morning person. I get up, I listen to Paul Green a little bit and do what we got to do. You know, you move on with your day.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
Most of us.
I had to continue, Keith.
Yo, let me have a couple of smokes. I'll buy you a pack later.
We'll come back to you, Keith. I know you got a lot going on, but just know the GoFundMe is closer to 2,000 now. So the Asmaniacs are coming through for Keith Best. Once again, link is in the description. And I just put it in the live chat. Comments, questions, super chats, they cut the line. Hello to the big fella. He's next. Big fella, what do you got for us?
Hey, what's up, buddy? It's been a while.
Is that a Jake Asman show? Gorman-inspired tank?
No, this is a...
Yeah. XL?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Trying to keep it that way. But anyway, really excited about the Jets defensive line this year.
I'm really excited about LT3. I think he could be our new Snacks, to be honest. I really do. I mean, I don't want to anoint him Snacks. Snacks was all pro and stuff like that, but you know, he's definitely showing flashes for sure. Also, Tack, I could see him surpassing Clemens. You know, because Clemens to me is like average. If Tack can prove that he's getting to the quarterback, he should pass him too. So, what do you think?
I think Tack has a chance to play a role, but I don't know if he's going to play as big of a role as you think he's going to right away.
Yeah,
I think they're going to give Clemens a chance. You know, he's been with the ones all summer. I don't think they're just going to yank him for Tack this quickly.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying like during the season. I think if Clemens falters, I think Tack is going to take the spot.
I think over the course of the year that's possible. I do. I think Reddick when he comes back has a lot to do with that too. You know.
Yeah. But I am really excited about LT3. He's a find by Joe Douglas. One of those gems that he finds that nobody else knows about, which is amazing. You know.
Don't tell that to Gary. God.
I can't tell anything to Gary, man. Talking to Gary is like talking to the wall. But
yeah.
Anyway, let's get the kid an emoji. How about that?
The kid in emoji.
Yeah, the kid.
In Edgemo.
Yeah, let's get that kid emoji.
Yeah.
What do we need?
You're gonna do it right now, big fella? You calling your shot?
Yeah, I'll do it right now.
Wow, what a baller move. All right, stand by. Let me pull it up here. Hold on. Big fella, you're a baller. Ladies and gentlemen, get the big fella emoji ready. My internet is very slow right now, which is annoying because I'm on hard lines. I'm doing all I can do.
Yeah.
Stand by. Hold on. We were like 23 away before, so that's a good indicator.
How about I do a 20 spot and then whoever else, you know.
I got the rest. You do a 20 spot and I'll cover the rest.
All right, we'll do that. The kid's a good kid, so
we love it.
We'll do that for the kid.
We'll make it rain. You want to read the names, big fella? I mean, this is a monumental
I want
achievement
Carly
here.
to read the names if she's here.
Oh God, don't torture us. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on.
All right.
Everything is so slow. All right, it just came through. 20 names. The big fella. I got something special for you, big fella. Hold on.
What you got?
All right. I got a video I'd like to play.
Yeah.
Stand by. Stand by. Stand by. You mentioned Joe Douglas.
Now that man doesn't wear an XL, bro.
No, he does not. A 20 spot of channel memberships have just been gifted. Let me get another 5 going here. Let's get 5. I think we hit it, but just to make sure we hit it, we're throwing 5 for the chat right now. So we're gonna have 25 names to read, plus Indy Jets. I'm seeing just gifted another one. Hold on. If this will load, we will have more memberships flowing. Damn it. There it is. 5. Just dropped in the chat. All right, big fella. You are a tremendous human. We will update the memberships and we will add the Connor one, which I have a funny feeling is going to be adjusted a couple times here. This is only the beginning.
Okay. Well, sounds good, man. Let me give a shout out to Johnny's show. I'm going to be on it on Sunday, I believe. So we'll check it out.
I want to be tuned in.
Yeah, be tuned in, man. Most interesting man in Paramus.
The big fella.
Actually, no, Tom Ace. Sorry about that.
So you would describe that as breaking news, right?
Breaking news, yeah. Breaking
sports news on the Jake Asman Show.
Yeah. All right, man. Have a good one. I'll talk to you all later.
Big fella, you're the man. The big fella just dropping a 20 spot so casually. Unreal. I got names to read, folks, but we have rules on this show. When we get that many memberships, the rain starts flowing. And my umbrella is needed. Stand by. Here we go. 20 memberships. Whoa. Hey now. Gusbuster.com. Get yourself the best umbrella in the universe. Here we go. Promo code Jake at checkout. 20 memberships from the big fella. Gary, channel member. Me Now. Colton Langjans. Raymond Solis. Jonathan Nelson. Slickwick the Kids. Chris. Kevin Miller. Nilton. Bernard Canagio. Leonardo Smith. Jason Picker. Make the Jets cool again. Dom Perrion. Nate A. Rounders. Train Up. Scuba Steve. The head coach of the NYJ. Robert Sala. Dweeb Eubank. Ronald Belfon. You are all channel members. Ladies and gentlemen, here are the 5 for me. Jimbo Jet. Beely. Omari Bolt. Hattie K. Chris Santana. You are all as maniacs. Welcome. 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 That's how it's done, folks. Rain, rain, rain. Channel memberships. Let me add the Connor Edgemo, as it's known as on this show, and that will be able to be used immediately. Connor's watching the show. I just saw his comment pop up on my second monitor to my right saying, thank you guys so much. How about it? Ladies and gentlemen, stand by. We got to just update his name, but we'll do that. Let's see. Please work. Please work. Please work. God damn it. Joe Mike, image aspect ratio, 1:1. It's not working, my friend. So we got to go back to the old one. The old one will work for now, but we'll update this once we get the football on hand. Great work by the big fella making it happen. The Connor Edgemo, not with the football on hand, is live. How about Real Connor says hello? He joins us now. Connor, your thoughts on being an Edgemo on the show?
Well, not even that. Just thank you, Big Fella, first off. Big Fella is always the one. He's the mastermind behind these, first off, because he's always the one who gifts the memberships to make it happen. So, Big Fella, I really appreciate it. I just saw Rick Kent dropped another one, and then Jake, especially you. I appreciate giving the 5 memberships. Really means a lot. But, yeah, I never thought I'd be sitting here today and saying I got my Asmaniac emoji.
5 more memberships from Rick Kent. Who better than Rick Kent?
Get your ass off my super chats. Some of these are gifted memberships too.
Hey.
The hell with it.
All right, here we go. I got names to read. Mike Fernandez, Nick Shine, Jamie Z, 123, Sam Millar, and Curtis Hardy. You guys are all channel members. Connor, this is now the 3rd show that I've hosted today and the 3rd phone call I've taken from you today.
Yes, I wasn't planning it until all this membership madness happened, and I earned my first emoji. I just saw it. I put it in the chat under my name for the first time. So, guys, like I said, Big Fella, especially Rick, Jake, you, literally everyone. I really appreciate the support and all you guys have done.
If I knew you were calling in, I would have had you read all the memberships that Big Fella gifted. I didn't even know you were in the chat.
Too many to name. I'll say that right now.
Well, Connor, excellent job out of you. All right.
Thank you.
Use that Edgemo with great pride.
I definitely will, Jake. Appreciate it, Big Fella, everyone, Rick. Appreciate it.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Connor Long. He called the morning stream today, the Jake Asman football show I did, and the normal second stream. Love it. Love it. Let me try and catch up on the chat here. By the way, everyone who says it's bad luck to open up the umbrella inside, it's not. All right. You've been lied to your entire life. Gusbuster has been around since 1998. All right. I've seen more people open up umbrellas inside than anyone. Believe me. You've been lied to. You've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok. It's not true. All right. Let's get back to the calls right now. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy always brings the energy, and I think we could use a pick-me-up right now. We say hello to V-Man.
It's time for V-Man to talk about Puerto Rico and his Puerto Rican roots.
Oh, excuse me then. What's up,
V-Man,
Jake?
hello.
Yeah. I just thought I'd call in because I was a bit exhausted. I was call in your first call-in show, but I was just too exhausted from work to actually call in. But yeah, no. By the way, I just want to let you know I officially RSVP'd for the season opener, so I will be there Monday night to watch the Jets beat the ever-loving crap out of the San Francisco 49ers on the
Will
national
you
stage.
be awake?
Yes, I will be awake.
So you'll be locked in.
Yeah, no, I will be. I'm just looking forward to this, man. This is, I'm hopefully going to be going out and get myself a Garrett Wilson jersey tomorrow. They're just looking, it feels like it's been so long. It feels like, because honestly, just yesterday we were here watching the draft, and now it's football season just right around the corner. Just, man, how time flies.
2 weeks, V-Man. 2 weeks from tonight. You'll
I
be on
know.
the train 2 weeks from tonight.
Yeah, no, I will be. Yeah, no, I will be on the train. Then after that, after the season opener, then we got the home opener. That's going to be fun. I don't know. Have you guys figured out what Patriots jersey you are burning?
That decision is not mine. I leave that to the powers that be at L5. My guess it would be a Gerard Mayo jersey.
That's going to be a price. Well, that's going to be a pricey one. Whoever has to front the bill for that.
It could be Drake May too, and there's definitely going to be some people that bring Brady jerseys to burn for the hell of it.
Of course, you can't go wrong with burning a classic.
It's true.
Again, well, I don't really have much else to say. Wish I could think of something else, but I guess I'll talk to you later, man.
You gonna get some sleep?
No, I'm well rested. I'm well rested. Just relax a bit, do some errands around the house. That's about it.
What's this 99.5% Puerto Rican?
I have no idea. I did not put that there. I did not put that there.
Oh, I didn't put it there.
Well, I better get going.
Where do you have to be? You got somewhere to be? What's on the agenda tonight?
Like I said, I got to clean up my closet. I had the closet shelf. I had to completely collapse and just had to remove it. Half my closet shelf collapsed. I got to replace it.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, no, it's not.
All right, B-Man, we'll let you run.
All right, bye.
Farewell.
That's the end of this V-Man call. Time for him to get back to pooping.
Thank you for that one, V-Man. All right. Just making sure we're caught up on memberships here. I believe we are. Joe Mike is working on the updated Connor Long emoji, so we'll defer to Joe Mike for when that's ready to go with a football and hot dog. But for now, we did add the Connor Edgemo during this show. Also, I'm excited to share that Gator is currently working on Best of the Jake Asman Show episode 7. That could be ready by the end of the week. So we'll get you ready for Labor Day weekend with that by the end of the week. So that is exciting. That should fire up the people. All right. Open phone lines for anyone who wants in. Last chance to get in on the conversation. Big fella, I see your comment. When V-Man started going like this with his nose, I started to think the same thing. So you're not alone. King Blaze talking about the Jet defense. All pros in every level of the defense. It's true. You have an all-pro defensive lineman. When Reddick shows up, you have an all-pro defensive edge. Current all-pro and a former all-pro at linebacker. An all-pro at corner. It is one of the deepest defenses in the league, if not the deepest, when you think about it. I mean, these are facts. Ladies and gentlemen, super chat from Sco. Can't wait to see you on September 9th. Sco, let's go. RSVP if you're coming to T Squared Social. You can meet the great Sco. I've met Sco. And contrary to popular belief, he is not actually just a giant sneaker. He actually is a real human. Big fella writes in, Jake, I hope I will see you and all the Asmaniacs in L5 at the Jets home opener. Never been to a game at the new stadium. What time does everyone get there? Big fella, for as big of a Jet fan as you are, you've never been to MetLife for a Jet game before? Wow. That surprises me. What time does everyone get there? I mean, for a Thursday night game, it's unique. I don't know. I'm trying to remember last year what time I got there for the Monday night game for the home opener. Probably like 4 because I was coming from Long Island with Neil and the Sprinter with traffic. I'll be there when the gates open. So that's, which I think is probably like 3 for an 8 o'clock game. I think. All right, more calls. Steven NYC is up next. Steven, what do you got for us?
How you doing, Jake?
What's up, Steven?
You hear me? Hey, don't know if I spoke to you since T2. That was great. What great people. What a great community that you built. You should be really proud. Everyone was just fantastic. And it's a safe place for us Jet fans.
Well,
That's what you've built. Because,
you got to come back for Monday night 2 weeks from now.
I'm definitely thinking about it. I will try. I have a couple of things I want to mention, but I don't want to waste too much time. But at the end, remind me, I have something to ask about Gary. But before then, first of all, Glenn London, awesome. Great guy. I thought that was wonderful. 2, you brought up a good point. And it was really interesting because no one's really brought it up, but I think it's an elephant in the room. Our expectations last year with our offensive line looking back, what a great point you made. And it's apropos and it's actually appropriate for what my segue was. Here's a question I want to ask you, and I'd love to hear everyone's opinion. And I think we're going to hear a lot of Asmaniacs and Jet fans that are the haters. If we had the same roster right now, and Aaron Rodgers was still out the whole year right now, and our quarterback room had to be the same it was last year, would we win 10 games?
If you guarantee me Tyrod Taylor's health. See, the problem you run into is he's got an injury history too.
No, you're exactly right. I'm saying 7 last year, and now with the same ifs, but the ifs are with this roster? I don't think 10 would be so ridiculous.
No, they could go 10. They could go 10 and 7. Yeah, they could go. They could go 10 and 7 with Tyrod. I agree. I'm with you, Steven. Be as positive as you want to be. This team's really good. Good call. They would win 10. If you guaranteed me Tyrod would play 17 games, they'd go 10 and 7 at least. They could be better than that. They actually could. Because of the defense and Brees just being an alien. I think it's flying under the radar that the best practice Garrett Wilson had this summer was against the Commanders in a monsoon with Aaron not even there. Tyrod knows how to get his playmakers the ball. That's all you need to do. Also, apologies to anyone who listens with headphones on. I know Steven's audio was so loud. I was trying to lower it on the fly, but I know it's still a little peaking. But he's right. Compare the roster from this year to last year. It's not even close. It's not even close. They are so much better. People are always like, you really think Aaron Rodgers is going to be? He doesn't need to be. Plus, it's a better team. They already won 7 games last year. That's a big deal. A very big deal. Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. We're going to wrap up here in just a few. So if you want in on the conversation, now is the opportunity to do exactly that. A lot still to do. Here's what we need to do first, though. We take a quick commercial break, and we come back with more of your phone calls. That didn't make sense. It's an internet show. There's no phone line. You get the point.
The New York Jets!
Come on!
Select Will McDonald, linebacker,
What?
Iowa State.
What the
Let's
fuck?
go.
I can't believe this shit!
All
What
right.
the fuck happened to that?
Hey, there we go. Light it up, Ricky. Yeah. Let's get back to your calls right now. One of our favorites is on the Gustbuster hotline. Ricky NY joins us now. What's up, Ricky?
Hey, Jake.
Hey, Ricky, how you doing?
Thanks for taking my call, Jake. I just finished smoking all the available weed in the panhandle, so bear with me if I collapse here in front of my personalized flag. Any chance you could send that boxing guy, Gary, to the Jameis Winston town? Maybe Gator can build a special hall for quarterbacks who throw more interceptions than completed passes. Well, not a Florida guy, but can go to Seminoles all the way there. I've got a whole lot. Let's get all of them in there. I don't give a shit. Well, I think I got to relight this thing. Hold on a second. I just got this new blowtorch lighter. Let's try it out. Let's try it. Oh, Jesus Christ. Should have backed off that setting a bit. Anyway, Jake, I'll hang up for now and grab the burn kit again. Later, brother.
Oh, my God.
Yo, Gator is different, man. That dude is different.
Let's keep going with the calls right now. It looks like, wow, I cannot believe this guy actually showed his face. A man who owes us 25 memberships in honor of 25 career interceptions by Zach Wilson. Hawk has called in for the very first time. Hello, Hawk.
Hey, Tyson, what's up, man? Hey, Jake, before you send me to the Shadow Realm, let me ask Tyson about Zach. Tyson, don't you think we can keep Zach Wilson and just let him start the first few games? I mean, we all know the kid just needs another year behind center, and that'll really get him going. I mean, Crowan, man, you know he's freaking awesome, bro. Maran win.
Oh, man, you're killing me.
Hawk, thank you for calling in, and we'll see you in the realm.
Into the Shadow Realm you go. That's the problem with Aaron Rodgers. This guy is a cancer that's metastasized throughout the entire building in Florham Park. And I don't know why Jets fans can't see it.
Or here's another idea that's going to be very controversial. You could shut the fuck up.
Whoa. You don't need a quarterback. You need a good football player. That's what I'm saying about Brock Bowers. You need a good football player.
Gary has called back in. He's relentless tonight, man. Gary, what do you got?
What's going on, Jake? I'll live fired up today. Let me ask you something. If you could get 30 touchdowns out of Jameis Winston and 30 interceptions, I'm going to tell you about him. Caleb Williams is going to help him the third round. And if he gets knocked down in round 7, I mean, his fight's going to go to the scorecard. It's probably fixed anyway. I mean, I disagree with you like 100%. What you did, miscalculating about not taking Joe Melton over Zach, a draft.
We're back. I could have kept playing that because I do enjoy it, but I'll save it for another day. Hit the like button if you're tuning in. We got a couple more calls to get to here, and then we'll wrap up today's show. I did 2 hours on the morning today, so giving you a lot. Plus, if you're just a general football fan, AFC East preview on the Jake Asman football show, about 20 minutes long. Posted that earlier today. So busy day on the channel. DJ Wheels is up next on the Gustbuster Umbrella Hotline. What's up, DJ? DJ, you got to unmute your mic, and we will be able to hear you, my friend.
Oh, there we go. What's going on, Jake? How you doing today?
Hey, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, bro. Always fixing something here.
What are we working on right now?
I'm working on a tablet now. Just fixing a broken screen. It was completely shattered. So
very nice.
How's it going? Just want to let you know I'll be at T Squared. I can't wait, bro. It's like I can't wait. Yesterday while watching your show, I went and registered everything, so I just can't wait.
Tell people how easy it is to RSVP, by the way.
Oh, it is really easy. Just go on the link, for how many guests are going to be in. That's it. You're in.
Dude,
that's it.
30 seconds.
How many fans are we expecting? How many people you think? So you got 200 last time, right? I want to.
Yeah, we had over 200 RSVPs last time. I would say it was probably closer to 170 to 200 that were actually there.
Okay.
I mean, I think we're gonna get the 400 Jet fans that night. I do. I think it's gonna be insane.
Well, I'm gonna make sure I'm early so they'll let me in because I think it's gonna be packed. So
yeah, I'm telling people to get there at 7. Right, because Once the game starts, I'm locked in, man. I'll be happy to take pictures with everyone and do the meet and greet and all that. Once we get to 8:15, I'm locked into the game. So it's gonna be nuts.
It's gonna be crazier than Circa. I remember when we were in Circa, it was fun, but I can't wait. I can't wait.
That's the amount of people I'm thinking we might have for that one.
Okay, all right, sounds good. All right, Jake, keep it going, bro. Take care, man.
DJ, it's so funny that you work at like a tech place, right? Like you fix.
Yeah, I got
phones
my own business. I do computer, cell phones, video game repair. So
it looked like you were doing you were like giving a tattoo. It looked like it was like a tattoo parlor at first.
So this is my workspace. That's you on you. I always have you here on my screen.
I love it.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, man. Looking forward to seeing you again in a couple of weeks.
There you go. Take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, DJ Wheels checking in. Love that. Love that. All right. That's a good call to end it. Carly writes in, I can't tell if that's a third grade classroom or tattoo parlor. See, I thought tattoo parlor too when I saw it. That's funny. Good call though. Let's see. Make sure I didn't miss anything here. I don't think I did. Fantastic. All right. Once again, watch party 2 weeks from tonight. You believe that? 14 days. 2 weeks from right now, I will be a nervous wreck. Let's be real. 2 weeks from tonight, though, the New York Jets make Brock Purdy run for his life. That's what's going to happen. We're ready. And I can't wait. All right. I want to thank you all who tuned in. Thank you to Glenn Naughton, who came on at the beginning of the show, first hour. Great conversation with him. I mentioned that we have Best of the Jake Asman Show, episode 7, coming out later this week. You guys want a short clip from Best of episode 7? Ladies and gentlemen, I have a clip courtesy of Gator McCluskey. Folks, enjoy the rest of your night. We're back tomorrow. We got 2 big-time shows coming your way. Robbie Sabo and I are doing a live stream on this channel at 4 Eastern tomorrow, right when the Jet roster needs to be set. Should there be other breaking news, though, like Reddick, other notable cuts or trades, we'll go live before then. But I'm definitely live in the morning and then live at 4 p.m. with Sabo. Breaking news, get to YouTube. You know where to find me. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. JETS, 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 Jets. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Lane Train Anchorman.
Lane, what's going on?
I don't think the Buffalo Bills could wear white if the Jets are wearing white. It doesn't make sense. Garrett Wilson and the Jets have a new coach. His name is going to be no more Robert Saleh. He also has to keep talking to his players going into the locker room. Attention, please. We have to do better going into tonight's game. We have to play better. We got to move the ball around. We have to focus more. And we also have to do a lot of other passing.
So they need to hear that before week 1.
Yeah, and it's funny how you put me in a suit in the draft, and I Wait, you did that, or you took somebody's suit and put it on me? The pick goes to Knoble out of college. You gonna pick a blue suit for me? What am I, Anchorman? From I looked like from that movie, the Anchorman movie. I'll let you go. Bye.
You can't teach greatness, folks.
Let's go, baby.